على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given us the ability to come to His house. We ask Allah to accept our ibadah and forgive our shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to fulfill His orders and stay on the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As we are concluding these remaining days of the month of Dhul Hijjah, which is the month of Hajj, just to share a few benefits that we receive from those who have visited the sacred place to perform the faridah, to perform this act of Hajj. One of the things that is given to a Haji, it is the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet ﷺ said, رَجَعَ كَيَوْمٍ وَلَدَتْهُ أُمُّهُ, that when a person performs this obligation, the Hajj, Allah Azza wa Jal grants him a clean start, a fresh start. And not only him, but anybody that is associated with him. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his farewell Hajj. Allahumma ghfir lil Hajj wa liman istaghfara lahu al Hajj. That, oh Allah, I ask you to forgive every person who performs Hajj. And not only the person who performs Hajj, but forgive the person for whom the Haji makes dua. Right? The person who performs Hajj and then he makes dua for someone else, the Prophet is making dua alayhi salatu wassalam that, oh Allah, you accept the prayer of this person on behalf of whomever he makes dua for. And that is a very great gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why this ibadah is such a great ibadah in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is a completion of your entire faith when it comes to the pillars of Islam. So this is why one of the things that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has recommended for believers to do, man arada an yahuj falyasta'jil, the one who has, upon whom the obligation of Hajj has become obligatory, then he should not delay it. Why he shouldn't delay it? Because he doesn't know what type of benefit he is going to receive in this journey. Despite the fact of all the difficulties, and you know one thing, no matter what type of difficulty anyone goes through in this journey, when they come back, they only share the good thoughts. Right? No one says, oh, it was never difficult, I don't think I'm never going to go again. No one says that. No matter how much pain, no matter how much heat, no matter how much difficulty this person has gone through in his journey, this is between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in his or her return, the only thing they will share with you that it is an amazing experience, it's an unbelievable, situation to be in, or a place to be in, and it was such a great, journey that we had gone through. No one is going to say, oh, it was what difficult, I'm not going to go. Why? Because the love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts inside, and this is part of Iman. To bear difficulty for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the sign of a person's faith, sign of a person's Iman. Of course, no one goes with the intention of preparing himself that I'm going to go and put myself in this hardship or that hardship. But the hardships, they come on your way. And they come in such a way that you can never imagine, right? You can never imagine. For example, we were traveling and I was sitting in the car and I was reading this book by Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, on the virtues of Mecca. And this was like right after Dhuhr, 120 degrees outside, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, burning hot. And I was going towards Haram in the car, and I was reading this book. And while I was reading this, I read one of his statement on the virtues of Mecca, that man sabara ala harri Mecca, the person who is having patience on the heat of Mecca, Allah will take him 70,000 trenches away from the fire of hell. Right? I just read this, and right in front of me, the road was blocked. And the only way to get to the other side is to walk about 3-4 kilometers. Right? So it is not that just at that time this virtue was read and this situation came. It inspired me that this is the time that Allah Azza wa Jal wants me to be in this situation. And I'm going to go. And that was the only route, because we went through 2 other routes and both of them were blocked. So this was the 3rd route to get to Haram. And right at that time, few cars before our car got there. So the other people, they were sisters, in the van also. So they decided they're going to go back and probably come later. And I said, no, inshallah, I'm going to go, because there are 200 Hajjis that are waiting for me to go and give lecture in the hotel. So if I'm left behind, then those 200 Hajjis that are waiting for me to get guidance for Hajj, they will be left behind. So Bismillah, you go on to the walk, right? 3 kilometers walking in the heat of Mecca. So this is not something that I prepared before going there. Not something that I anticipated to go and walk in the heat of 120 degrees. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought that onto my table. And then at that time, as a believer, you're supposed to accept. And right in the fact that before I read that virtue, the situation came right in front of me. So that inspired me even more. That this is the time that Allah Azza wa Jal wants me to get closer to Him. And maybe this act of mine can be the means of getting closer to Allah. So like this is just an example. Not that I'm trying to talk to you about my virtue or anything. This is just an example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is kind and He wants a believer to come closer to Him. And when Allah Azza wa Jal takes you, and for whom Allah takes in the future, and we ask Allah to take everybody inshallah in the future, whenever there is a situation that comes, you're not mentally prepared for it. But you've been put into that position or condition. Why? Because Allah wants something from you in this journey, and that is a believer that accepts those conditions with happiness, with full-heartedness, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And then on top of that, what Allah will give you, it is unimaginable, and you can never think, and you can never achieve by other means. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the virtue. We ask Allah to grant us the spirit. We ask Allah to give us the ability to dedicate our time, effort, and ability for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the same time, for those who haven't gone for Hajj and they have been intending, and this faridah is due upon them, may Allah make it easy, assist them, and take them to His house, inshaAllah. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha